Salutations to all our future judges. In this video, we are going to see Indian Evidence Act 1872. But before going into the video, I'd like to make few requests to our viewers as well as the subscribers. Kindly do not skip the video. Watch the video from the beginning till the end. If you skip in between, you may be missing very crucial information or very crucial aspects which have been explained. Hence, watch from the beginning till the end. And next request is, please do have a notebook and a pen with you, because various questions which have been asked in Evidence Act in various exams would be mentioned or would be stated. And in addition to this, idea would be given as to how questions could be framed in a particular section. It is very important for you. So you all need to make a note of all these aspects. And in addition to this, some additional illustrations would also be given while teaching the act. Hence, you please make a note of all those additional illustrations as well. They would be of absolute help to you in understanding the particular section. And in addition to this, various ways or techniques would be taught which would help you to remember those sections, or to say some memory techniques would be given. This would be really helpful to you in remembering the sections when you go to the exam. I hope this video would be of absolute and great utility to you. Now, let us move to section 14. Facts showing existence of state of mind or of body or bodily feeling. If there are certain facts which show the state of mind, and state of mind could be mentioned as intention, knowledge, good faith, negligence, rashness, ill will or goodwill towards any particular person. If there is any such state of mind, or showing the existence of any state of body or bodily feeling, both these are relevant, provided this state of mind or body or bodily feeling is in issue or relevant. Imagine if that state of mind, body or bodily feeling are not relevant in the case, then these aspects cannot be taken. That is what they are trying to say. Now let us move to explanation 1. It says, a fact relevant as showing the existence of a relevant state of mind must show that the state of mind exists not generally but in reference to the particular matter in question. If I am saying a person generally does this, generally he does not like a person of a particular society, or we can say like he is not of a good opinion about a particular group of people, then that is not material in this particular case. But if he says about a particular person or a particular matter in question, then that becomes relevant. If someone is saying generally all these people are bad, then that cannot be accepted. If he specifically says that this particular community is bad, or to say if this particular person is bad, then that is quite irrelevant. Now let us move to explanation 2. But whereupon the trial of a person accused of an offence, the previous commission by the accused of an offence is relevant within the meaning of this section, the previous conviction of such person shall also be relevant. We all generally know that the attitude of a person or the offences which is committed prior to the trial of a particular case would also be counted in certain situations. If that be the case, if that person was convicted or had a previous conviction for an offence, then that becomes a relevant fact. To make it much more simple, imagine a person A is undergoing a trial for rape. In that case, if he has committed rape prior to this on somebody else and he was convicted in the previous case, then that fact of his conviction becomes a relevant fact. Now let us move to the illustrations what have been provided. A is accused of receiving stolen goods knowing them to be stolen. It is proved that he was in possession of a particular stolen article. Imagine a person, A generally receives the stolen goods. Regularly he does this. So one time he got caught. So he was in possession of various stolen articles prior to this, then it shows that this person is a regular habit of receiving the stolen goods and it becomes a relevant fact. Now let us move to the next illustration. A is accused of fraudulently delivering to another person a counterfeit coin. Imagine if this person is in the habit of giving the counterfeit coin on a regular basis, or he had plenty of counterfeit coins in his hand, or if there is a fact that he has been previously convicted of delivering it to another person as genuine, a counterfeit coin, knowing it to be a counterfeit is relevant. Imagine a person has got plenty of counterfeit coins. Somebody is going and approaching A and saying, see Mr. A, we are giving you counterfeit coins. You try to exchange this in the market, we'll give you more money, the original money. So what he does is, he's having, say, some 10,000 rupees worth counterfeit coins. He is trying to exchange it in the market. So in that case, this would be quite relevant. And another aspect is, if he has been convicted of trying to deliver it to another person as a genuine coin, then in that case his conviction would also be quite relevant. Now let us move to the next example. C. A sues B for damage done by a dog of B's, which B knew to be ferocious. Now imagine this, B is a neighbor, A and B are neighbors. So this B has a dog which is highly ferocious, and B knew the fact that the dog was ferocious, and in addition to this there are three more persons who are neighbors, X, Y, Z. So they come and say to B, see Mr. B, your dog is highly ferocious and we were previously bitten by your dog, so please ensure that it does not bite others. And they had even given complaint against B. So all these aspects are absolutely irrelevant when A is used for damage against B because he was bitten by the ferocious dog. Now let us move to the next example, D. The question is whether A, the acceptor of a bill of exchange, knew that the name of the payee was fictitious. So imagine if a person has been accepting a bill of exchange regularly, knowing that the person or the payee was fictitious, then it is a relevant fact. Then it is obviously a relevant fact. Imagine you know something is wrong and you keep on accepting it, then it means that you are aware that something is wrong and you are still accepting it, and that becomes quite relevant. Now let us move to the next example. A is accused of defaming B by publishing an imputation intended to harm the reputation of B. So this person, the A, has an intention of defaming B by publishing certain articles which harms his reputation. So if there are previous publications where A is respecting B, then this would prove that A has an ill will towards B and it becomes relevant. This is also quite an important aspect. If there are facts that there was no previous quarrel between A and B, imagine A is saying, somebody told this fact and I have stated that this person, so and so person, has stated so. In that case, A did not intend to harm the reputation of B. What he is doing is, somebody is saying some fact, he is just putting that in the paper saying that that person told like this, simple. So A has no intention to harm B. That is also quite relevant. Now let us move to example or illustration F. A is sued by B for fraudulently representing to B that C was solvent, whereby B, being induced to trust C, who was insolvent, suffered loss. Now let us try to picturize this particular example. Imagine a person B is there. He is going and asking A, do you know Mr. C? A is saying, yes, I know Mr. C. Then the next question asked by B is whether the C is solvent. A says, yes, he is solvent. So based on the belief on the words of A, B is lending a loan to C, believing that he is solvent. Then after that he came to know that this C was insolvent and B suffered a loss. So B is filing a case against A, saying that no, A told that C was solvent, so that is why I gave the loan. In that case, if the fact is that at the time when A represented C to be solvent, C was supposed to be solvent by his neighbors. Then the neighbors are saying, no, yes, that C was solvent at the time when A represented to B. Then that becomes quite irrelevant. And if the neighbors say that they were aware of the fact that C was solvent at the time when A said this, or there may be people who are dealing with C, they are coming and saying, Mr. B, kindly note that this C was solvent when A made a representation to you that C was solvent. So A did not lie. A had good faith and what he said was right at that time. Then subsequently C became insolvent. Then all these facts are considered to be relevant. Now let us move to the next example. A is sued by B for the price of work done by B upon a house of which A is the owner by the order of C, a contractor. Now let us try to understand this in a simple manner. Imagine a big bridge is being constructed. So the government is inviting bids or inviting tenders for construction of this bridge. One company by name A is coming and saying to the government, we can construct this bridge, we have got a good experience in this and we can construct it at a lower cost. Then the government is handing over the contract to the A company. Now this A company is calling B company and saying, you need to construct a particular part of this bridge. B is also accepting. Then this A company is calling another company called as C. They are saying you need to construct the middle part of the bridge. Then they are also accepting. Then another company D is called. They say like you have to complete the left out portions of this bridge. They also accept. Now this B company is calling another company by name E. This B company is handing over a part of the work to the E company. So now you can understand, A is giving a part of the work to B and this B is handing over a part of the work to E. So E has completed the work and B has not paid the money. So now this E is going and asking A, you only gave the contract, no, you give me the money. Now A is saying, no, I paid the entire money to B. So B has to pay you because I have not engaged you. So in that case, all these aspects become quite relevant. Now let us move to example H. In this case, the A is accused of dishonest misappropriation of property, which he had found. And the question is whether when he appropriated it, he believed in good faith that the real owner could not be found. So now, imagine A is residing in Mumbai. So he found the particular property, say in Nasik. So what he does is, he comes to Mumbai and gives a public notice saying that I found this property. If there is a real owner, you may approach me at this place. And he is giving his phone number. So if this A is publishing an advertisement in Nasik where he found the property, it is genuine. But he is not publishing it in Nasik, he is publishing it in Mumbai, which shows his ill intention. So he has not done it in good faith. Now there is another person C who came to know that this property what A found was of a good value. So what he does is he gives a public notice saying that my property is lost, and he gives the description of the property with an intention to make a false claim. So now A has a reasonable suspicion. A is having a doubt whether C is the original owner or not. So in that case, this A's good faith cannot be disproved because he had a doubt about C. So this would obviously prove that A did everything in good faith and it becomes relevant. Now let us move to the next example, I. Now this A is being charged with shooting at B with an intent to kill him. So if he had similarly done the same aspect, then that is considered to be quite relevant and it may be proved as well. Imagine he has tried to kill this B previously also, then that becomes quite relevant and it can be proved. Now let us move to the next example. A is charged with sending threatening letters to B. Threatening letters previously sent by A to B may be proved as showing the intention of these letters. Now let us move to next example K. The question is whether A has been guilty of cruelty towards B, his wife. So before this act of cruelty, if something has happened between the husband and wife expressing their feelings, then that becomes quite relevant. Next is illustration L. The question is whether A's death was caused by poison. So statements which are made by A during his illness as to his symptoms are relevant facts. Imagine after consuming a poison, he is having some drowsiness or he is having a burning sensation, he is saying this to others. Then those aspects are considered to be quite relevant. Now let us move to example M. The question is, what was the state of A's health at the time when an assurance on his life was affected? Imagine they are taking a life insurance for one Mr. A. So what was his health situation when that insurance was taken is the question. So statements made by A as to his health condition when the insurance was taken are quite relevant. Now illustration N. A's used B for negligence in providing him with a carriage for hire not reasonably fit for use, whereby A was injured. They are providing two scenarios here. So they say that a person, say for example, this B was regularly hiring the carriage. All the customers one by one they are coming and saying, sir, this carriage is not in a good condition, it is not fit for use. Every time they are saying, but he is not ignoring, he is not accepting it. So that is quite relevant. But he is habitually negligent about the carriages which he hires. It means all of his carriage he did not even bother. This B did not bother to rectify the problems in his carriage on a regular basis. He is habitually negligent. Then that is not relevant. It should be pertaining to a particular carriage. Now let us move to the next example O. A is tried for the murder of B by intentionally shooting him dead. So the fact that A on other occasion shot at B is relevant, as showing his intention to shoot B. But if he has a regular habit of shooting at people, in this case it is a general comment. No, somebody is saying like regularly this A used to shoot at people, then that is not relevant in this particular case. Then it becomes irrelevant. Then example P. A is tried for a crime. The fact that he said something indicating an intention to commit that particular crime is relevant. Imagine this A is saying, I am planning to kill Mr. B. I have even purchased poison, or he says like I have purchased a knife to kill him. Then all these become irrelevant. If he is saying that he is planning to commit a crime, he is simply saying he wants to kill somebody, those who are not acting as per the law, then in that case that is not relevant, it becomes irrelevant. Many a times questions have been asked from this particular section, this section 14. It is very relevant. Each and every example is relevant. Questions are asked in judicial exams conducted across India from this section. So please ensure that each and every example is understood in a proper and a perfect perspective, and kindly listen to this video again and again so that you understand and you are in a position to recollect it in the exams when a question is asked from this particular section. If you like the video, do press the red color subscribe button as well as the all button so that you receive the notifications whenever a video is posted in this channel. If you like the video, do press the thumbs up button and share the channel with your friends. You can motivate your friends by sharing the channel. Let us join hands together and contribute for a learned society. Thank you.